I'm a fashion designer, and I have a brand called Azira and a shop in the Dansard neighborhood in Brussels. And I design clothing for the modern and European Muslima that needs clothes to fit her ethics and also her needs as an active woman. I do all of this around one core value, and which is respect. Respect for differences, respect for individual choices, for environment, for labor, etc. But that's actually not what got me here. What got me here are two things. One being that my store is actually just one block away from the Walvis Cafe in the Dansard neighborhood. And the other thing that got me here is stereotypes. Because actually people have two different visions of Muslim women, two different visions that are mutually exclusive and opposite to each other. One of those visions being the perfect example of integration, a modern woman that takes part in society, fully integrated, self-conscious, etc. The other vision being the devoted and subjugated Muslima that wears a veil and keeps a very neat household. I was having a drink at the Walvis one day with Bart Bex and Bruno, organizer of this event, when Bruno actually got fascinated about the fact that I fitted within those two stereotypes at the same time. Being a devoted Muslima that used to wear the hijab for 25 years, and on the other side, being a fashion designer that has her own brand and a store in the Dansard neighborhood. So what I want to do actually today is to break down those stereotypes and show you that they are fake. I want to show you two pictures. This is Karima. She is a graphic designer. She works for a huge political party in Brussels, but she's also an Islamic theology student. The other picture is Sakina. It's the other stereotype of the devoted housewife, which actually studied communication and marketing and is traveling the globe as an event manager. So the way I want to break down those stereotypes is by telling you my own story. And going back 25 years, when I was 15, and decided, as every teenager does, to express my identity. I did that by wearing a veil at that point. Back then, in the 80s, it was technically still possible to wear a veil at school, which isn't the case anymore today. But the atmosphere at school, and actually the fact that other students and teachers rejected that expression of my identity, made me finally quit school and stay at home. No matter how much I liked going to school and no matter how good my grades were, I just got actually tired of sleeping myself, crying myself to sleep at night, and I just ended up staying at home. After a couple of years staying home, I ended up married at 18, becoming this perfect little housewife, keeping a very neat household, and expressing my creativity through nothing more but interior decorating, cooking, and sewing my own clothes, actually. Doing that for a couple of years, and not being able to bear it anymore and wanting to get out there, I decided first to go to Islamic school, because actually that was the only place where I could learn things and at the same time feel welcome and feel at home, not feel rejected for who I was. And that was actually a huge eye-opener for me, because that gave me the confidence I needed to go out there and do the things that I really like to do, like going to art academy and also starting to look for a job. I got my first job interview with the father of a newlyborn, telling me that they were looking for an English-speaking nanny for their son and asking me if I spoke English. I answered him that I didn't know. He said, yeah, well, that's very original. Usually you know whether you speak a language or not. And I told him that actually during all those years that I was playing housewife, I watched a lot of TV. And I know that by now I understand English and I think I speak English, but I never tried. So he said, let's try. And that's how I became a nanny. A couple of years later, I started working in the sociocultural sector for an NGO called School Zonder Racisme. And working in that sector gave me the drive I needed to go back to school and get my high school diploma a couple of years later. And but never made it to university because that's when I got sick. So being sick actually kept me into bed and in and out of hospital for over 2 years. After a while, I started thinking about what is there that I could still do? What is there that I can do with my creativity, my skills, and the things I've learned while I'm still here? There must be a way that I can contribute, something I can do. And that's when I came up actually with the project for the brand. Because during all those working years, I was designing and making my own clothes, which would fit my ethical needs, and at the same time be modern and fashionable enough to be accepted as a working woman. And many women would come to me and tell me that they would love actually to find that kind of clothes on the market, and they would definitely buy them if they were available. And so what they really needed basically their needs were the same as mine. Clothes that would fit their ethics, but be modern and fashionable, and be Western European clothing, which would fit their culture also. Modesty requirements actually being, well, the basic rules are 3. The main rule, the first main rule, is that the whole body has to be covered except face and hands. The second one is that it doesn't follow the shape of the body, and the third one, not be transparent. You have a couple more rules, but they actually differ from one school, Islamic school, to another, which means from one region to another. But basically, every woman, Muslim women, that chooses to follow those ethics picks out those that are the most accurate for her. So, as I decided I wanted to do that, I thought first things first, and I have to get professional training because I love designing and making clothes, and I did that for a couple of years, but I wanted to professional training. Tried to get into fashion schools, tried many of them, and actually got systematically refused from all of them. The director of one of those schools actually even said that he didn't believe that religion and art could coexist in the same person. And I wonder if this director has ever heard of Michelangelo, or if he's ever been to art school for that matter. So ended up going to Sintra. Sintra is a place where they teach you basic skills, actually. I just started for a couple of months when I decided I didn't want to waste any more time, and I launched the brand. I designed the first collection, got the funds I needed to make a production, and started selling through fashion shows and private sales at home. when I've seen the huge feedback and the huge demand that there actually was, that's when I started looking for a shop. And when I found the shop that I actually run in the Dansaert neighborhood, I heard that the house owner said that he was looking for someone that was Belgo-Belgian white person and who was Flemish. And also he wanted to have something nice like Christophe Coppens right next door, where Princess Mathilde would come and buy her hats. So having heard that, what I did is I put a friend of mine, which was a white guy, blue eyes, in the company status to go signed for the contract. And after that, I never met the house owner. Never. For years, I've never seen him. First time I've seen him was last September, the day after Princess Mathilde visited my shop. And he said, I tried to come in yesterday, but I couldn't because police wouldn't let me in. They had blocked, actually, the whole street. But anyway, so those are just a couple of stories, a couple of anecdotes about my whole journey. And as you can see, throughout my journey, I've been actually traveling back and forth through those two stereotypes, most of the time integrating both of them at the same time. And that journey is what brought me here, knowing what I stand for, what I want to achieve, and what I want to fight for. And so through those 2 years now that I have the brand, this project started to take more form. And I realized that the message of the brand, which now actually only reaches a few women every day throughout that one local shop, is a universal message. It's a message of respect, basically, for differences. It's a message of respect for individual choices. It's a message of respect for the nature and for labor, because I integrate all of those aspects in what I do. And that's why I decided to build actually a global community platform to give all the women that want to oppose these two stereotypes a voice through this project. And that this project will be something that unites everyone that stand for the same thing. The reason I want to do this is because stereotypes and stigmatization can actually be very dangerous and lethal. A couple of weeks ago, this 17-year-old black boy got shot just for wearing a hoodie and sunglasses while there was no sun shining, made him a suspect. Last week, also in the United States, in Los Angeles, a 32-year-old woman called Shaima was beaten to death, and she was the perfect model of integration, except she was wearing the veil, and that was her sole crime. So basically, my message is that respect comes with responsibility. That's our responsibility. Because as one of my favorite writers puts it, Amin Malouf, c'est notre regard qui enferme souvent les autres dans leur plus étroite appartenance, et c'est notre regard aussi qui peut les libérer. Thank you.